I want to inform, educate, and interact with you about leadership in the classroom as it relates to how students learn. Hopefully that's not a big surprise because my PhD is in organizational leadership and strategy. So I've been studying leadership for 3 years. Discuss the motivational factors that influence how students learn based on this book, and offer you some practical advice, again, based on the text, about what the best teachers do for each of those categories of students. Now, all of this is based on, this book is based on a study that he did of the 60 to 70 best university professors in the United States. Now, there's a lot of argument about how he came up with who are the best 60 to 70. Some people think it's a complete crock. Other people think it's got validity. I don't know how scientific his study was, but from a qualitative standpoint, he pulled together all of these interviews, and some of them were very exhaustive to the point where he spent time with these people. All right. So, what is the single most important characteristic of a good leader, regardless of the setting? I don't care if the leader is the leader of a country, the leader of a business, the leader of a classroom. What do you guys think? I need you to tell me what is the single most important characteristic of a good leader.
Understands the issues.
Understanding the issues. Okay? Anything else?
Being organized.
Organized. Yes?
Confident.
Confidence. Yes?
Empathetic.
Empathy.
Communicator.
Good communicator.
I was going to say good interpersonal skills. But
Yes.
Someone who listens.
A listener. Now, all of those are excellent. Yes, did you have another one?
I was going to say delegating.
A delegator. Sir?
Consistent in our approach.
Consistency. All of those are excellent, and they are all correct. The truth is, leadership is about perception. And the most important thing, in my opinion, about being a good leader is you have to know your customer. You have to know who your stakeholders are. When I say stakeholders, I mean constituents. I mean anyone that has an expectation of you as the leader. You have to know your customer. How in the world can you satisfy their needs, wants, desires, and expectations if you don't know everything about them? And in my opinion, that's the most important part. So, all of these are accurate. And the reason that they're all accurate and not just one is because leadership is actually considered a social science. And as a social science, there is no one correct definition. You can look that up on Google, the definition of leadership. You will get thousands of definitions of leadership. Everyone has their own perception. So, let's refine it a little bit to your classroom. As a teacher, as a leader of the classroom, tell me, who are your customers? Students?
Parents.
The parents?
administrators.
Administration?
Colleagues.
Colleagues. Yeah.
Colleagues?
Community.
Community? You're missing a big one here.
Yeah.
How about the state? Don't they have an expectation of you guys? The federal government, where funding comes from, they all have expectations. So, these are all your customers. Now, when I do strategic planning with my clients, what I do is we make this list. because it depends on who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to nursing home administrators, obviously it's a different list. But we make this list, and I ask them to tell me who is the number one constituent that it is absolutely critical that you satisfy. And the answer for us, obviously, is the students. We're trying to satisfy their needs, wants, expectations, and desires in order for them to become better citizens, better people. So, the important lesson based on all that is leadership is really about perception. Right? That always gets a laugh in the other groups. Wow. Leadership's about perception. That's one of my favorite perception slides. And then finally, I always ask the group when I'm teaching, what do you see? And invariably, somebody sees the glass and somebody sees the two lovers at the glass. See it now? It's about perception. Okay. So, the very nature of instruction can have a big impact on how students learn. So tailoring that instruction based on the understanding of the student's motivation will have a significant impact on how the students learn and their performance. And that's something that is probably not new to you guys, is my guess. You guys probably are saying, so? Tell me something new. For me, that was quite a revelation. Because when we look at students' performance, similar to in business, when we look at getting performance out of our employees, we figure out what is the best way to get the most out of the people that are our customers, for our employees. And the answer is simple. We got to figure out what motivates them. Now, one of the problems with motivation, as you all know, is that everyone has different motivators, both intrinsic, internal, and extrinsic, external. And depending on what motivators you are actually hitting is the performance you're going to get back. But here's the problem I have with that in the classroom setting. You've got one teacher and say 10, 15, 20, 30 students. Each of the students has a different motivational motivational foundation, and the teacher has their own. How is the teacher supposed to get to each single student's motivation? Does anybody know? Because I'm asking. I don't know.
We're miracle workers.
You're miracle workers. I knew that. My fiance is a school teacher, by the way. She teaches 5th grade. She teaches 5th grade special ed. Yes?
There would have to be some kind of pre-assessment, I guess, so you would see where the kids are, and
Okay.
so that you get the perception of where to go from there.
Sure. Pre-assessment to figure out which kids need to be motivated more than other kids, who's motivated internally, who's motivated externally. So the perceptions of how we learn. Knowledge is constructed based on a student's existing model. Again, I'm sure none of this is new for you because you're all teachers. For me, this was like a hammer on the head. We come in with our own paradigm. We all do. And we interpret what the teacher says based on our current model or paradigm that's in our head. And that model and paradigm is based on our beliefs, our values, the norms, everything we grew up with. So if I say to you, as a teacher, this is a beautiful jacket, students. I want you to understand this is a beautiful jacket. Well, if your paradigm is that a beautiful jacket has to have sequins on it, then you're not going to believe me that this is a beautiful jacket. But if you don't have a preconceived paradigm about what is beautiful and what isn't in terms of a jacket, you might believe me. So I'm going to have students on different levels saying different things based on everything that comes out of my mouth. It's an interesting problem. Teachers need to stimulate construction of new models. We got to get students away from their existing paradigm in order to have a deeper understanding, a learning situation. Teachers shed light on how knowledge in their field is understood by scholars and researchers. Supposedly, the scholars and researchers go out, they create new theory, and we as teachers are supposed to take that theory and apply it to the classroom. So, there are 3 factors, motivational factors, that produce different kinds of learners. We've got our deep learners, our strategic or competitive learners, and we have our performance avoiders. The deep learners. These are your all-stars. The deep learner is the one that needs to understand whatever it is you're talking about simply for the sake of understanding it. That's the person that needs to understand your subject. This isn't the person that's memorizing it. This is the person that's understanding and actually learning. And you can see it in their face. When I do my speaking in front of people, in front of clients, etc., and I'm talking about a particular topic, we're talking about nursing home and nurses and staffing, you can see the people that understand what you're talking about, and you can see the people that are just kind of sitting there going, yeah, whatever. It's really, it's interesting. Those are the deep learners. Then you have your strategic and your competitive learners. These are the students that react well to competition. I'm not going to lie, even though this is being videotaped, this is me. These are the students that really care more about grades than anything else. They want the A. And they are willing to do basically whatever it takes to get that A. No matter how much information they have to memorize to spit back on an exam, that's what they're going to do. Now, there's a problem with these people. These people are motivated by external factors, the grade. But science has proven, and studies have shown, that unfortunately, external factors have a tendency to be a hindrance to learning. So when somebody is motivated by the grade, what happens when the grade goes away and now they've graduated? Now their learning motivation is gone. And they haven't become deep learners, they have become regurgitators. That's a problem. In this book, Dr. Bain refers to them as bulimic learners. They literally shove it all in, take the test, shove it all out, and then they're done, and they purge out of their head whatever they've learned, so they have room in their head for the next topic. But they haven't learned. The last one is performance avoiders. These are people that just want to stop failure. They're only in here to get through, to get the grade, to get the degree, to get the bump in pay, to get whatever, and they're done. They really could care less about the subject. They really don't care about getting an A. They just want to survive. They just want to cope. Surface learners. They resort to memorizing and trying simply to reproduce whatever it is they hear. They don't try and understand it. And they suffer from a lack of self-confidence. All right, so some practical solutions. Number 1, the deep learner. Continue to encourage and engage them and try and get them to help others because they're deep learners. The strategic competitive learner. We need to recognize and understand that the culture of the classroom, which may foster bulimic learners, i.e. the encouragement of students to regurgitate facts and then purge them to make more room for more facts. To avoid it, we abstain from appeals to competition. They talk about the best professors in the United States. What they learn from them is instead of just spitting out facts to our students, especially the strategic competitive learners, they ask questions that make them think about the utility of the subject. It forces them not to memorize facts. So they ask questions on exams that are much more philosophical in nature and much less scientific. So somebody just can't memorize an answer and spit it back. That's how they deal with those students. They pursue the answers to questions, not just the learning of the information. All right, for the performance avoider, we have to encourage them to understand that they are able to learn. One of the things they said in the book is, this one professor says, you're already here. You're paying the money. You're getting the degree. As long as you're wasting your time sitting